It's still no format February, or at least throw a wrench in the format February. I'm going to be starting a series in the recommended listening segment leading into the Sunshine Summit in March. I'm going to be featuring all of the guests coming up, and I might even just talk about myself for a bit. But this week, I'm going to be stacking them because we've only got a few weeks to go, and I've got a lot of people to go through. So everything's getting a twist this week, even down to news stories that are not what you think they are at the start. So let's get on with the stuff and get the show going.
Because everything is not what it seems.
Beginning on ODO podcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the ODO podcast, where normal is not my specialty. And if you're new to the show, well, that just means that I don't stick with one kind of thing, really. I tell some personal stories and rants, I make fun of some weird news stuff, and I like to pitch to you a podcast that I think you need to be checking out, because my brain just can't handle doing one thing for the whole show. But here's the deal. So like I said at the beginning, the only part of this week's show that I knew going into the start of the week was the recommended listening feature, which if you've listened before, I've always said that's probably the hardest part of the show for me because I have to actually think about it. I have to actually kind of do a little bit of work. This was the one that after I did last week's show, and I've been talking to Heather from Sunshine and Power Cuts a lot this week, actually, especially after doing that whole feature last week. There's just a lot of talking with her about the Sunshine Summit coming up, and I'm excited for it, and how I've been trying to push this and a lot on social media and stuff too. But it kind of hit me. I was like, you know what? I can spend the rest of the time going up to the summit featuring kind of putting more time into the rest of the guests that are going to be part of this. So I decided to do that. But that's all coming up later. But it was kind of a funny thing this whole week, and I didn't really think about it too much until like the last day or so. But this whole week, I've If you've listened to the show enough, you know, I get ranty. I tend to, I call an idiot, and I do stupid stuff, and I say stupid stuff, and I rant and I bitch and I moan and I yell and blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. I generally, I say I try to keep, an image of being a little spiky, maybe, but in the last week, there have been a few in some of the Facebook groups and things that I'm part of where things like questions were asked about, like, who are, like, somebody kind of had a thread going saying there's a lot of negativity in some of the groups, which there are. There are some of the podcast or Facebook groups where people shit on each other. And there was one that I was part of where the mods were condescending assholes, so I fucking left. But that all aside, there's some people that are really shitty in some of the groups, and there's some groups where there's a lot of negativity that gets thrown around. When you start getting thousands of people in a group together, somewhere in there are some assholes. Somewhere in there are some people that are gonna, they're gonna push the buttons. They're gonna troll people. They're gonna be shitty to other people. And so yeah, this person, and I believe it was actually Hannah from Film Roast, if I'm remembering right, who I will be talking about at a later time. But anyway, she said that, like, hey, there's all this negativity. Who are some of your favorite people? Let's spread some love and some positivity in people that you think are really great in the space. And because she's such a sweet person, Emily Prokop from The Story Behind mentioned me, which was like, and basically, mounted to saying that I'm just because, and I think it a lot has to do with like my recommended listening segment. And I try to do a lot to support a lot of the indie shows that I listen to. And a lot of these people have become friends of mine. And so like, I don't have friends. My friends are my podcaster friends, but she, mentioned me in her comment on this thread and Heather from Sunshine and Power Cuts. And like suddenly comments start popping up, like people agreeing, like Josh, who is the producer from Karen and Ellen Letters and Our Americana, Lisa from I Shake My Head. And I was like, fuck, all these people are saying nice things about me. What the hell did I do? And of course Heather chimed in because Heather's the like sweetest person in the world. And it was so funny like, that all these people are saying all these nice things about me, where for the most part, my show is primarily bitching and making fun of shit. Minus this little happy bit at the end where I say nice things about other people's shows. And I was like, well, damn. It's like making me feel like an asshole for feeling like an asshole. And I realized that I've basically, for all of my spikiness here and my making fun of shit and calling people out on their stupidity and swearing and ranting and bitching and all of that stuff, I oddly have established like a reputation for being this really nice person. And I'm kind of like, well, how the fuck did I do that? I mean, and I have to kind of accept that I'm not a shitty person. I'm not. And it's like, I'm maybe a little spiky, and maybe sometimes I will say I probably have viewpoints on things, and I may have a way, at least here, of expressing things. And again, it's calling a dumbass. Things like that. Very Red Foreman when you think about it. But, I feel like there's no reason to be shitty to people. There's no reason to, like, why? I guess fundamentally, and I guess my parents did a good job of, ultimately I'm a good person and I don't want to see people hurt, and I like to make people feel better about themselves. And I think that's, in my case, it's like my draw to comedy, where I'd be a stand-up comic if I had the patience for it and I maybe started getting into it 10 years ago. Had I started trying to get into comedy when I was single and all of that stuff back when crippling stage fright, shit like that. But for me, I've always just like, I like making people laugh. And oddly enough, my ranting, raving bitchiness here is the best way that I know. Okay, it's the best outlet I have to make people laugh. And cracking stupid, really cheap, low-hanging jokes at people. And if you think I'm bad here, you should just hear Rihanna and I go at it. We are just, flinging that low-hanging fruit at each other all the time. Sidebar. If you are curious, if you were somebody who listened to Mom and Dad Cuss, I'm going to outright say this right now. I do not know the total status of that show. And I've said before, I've said on this show, I've said on that show, that's Rihanna's show. That is her show. I'm the producer. I'm the behind the scenes guy on that. I am the John Buchanan to her she podcast. It's like I chime in. I'm conversation, but it's her show for me. And right. And it's really up to her if we do the show, but also because of her going back to school and all this stuff, her work and classwork schedule and homework and all this really makes it difficult to record. And I'm not going to push the issue. So like I said, if you do listen, we haven't had a show in about 2 months, and I'm not going to push it on her. But if she says, hey, if she's up for it and wants to keep doing the show, I don't know whether or not we are going to continue that show or not. We may not. We may just let it go. May do a final send up. I don't know. I haven't talked to her about it. It's just kind of something that's popped up in my head It's like, there are still people that listen. Crazy enough. We haven't done a new show in 2 months, but I still get downloads for that show every day because that show's funnier than I am. What can I say? I'm funnier with her than I am by myself. But sidebar over. Anyway. But yeah, I enjoy making people laugh. I've always enjoyed making people laugh. And again, this is my only outlet to do that. And when you look at some of the stuff in the news and just weird stories that I can have a funny way of telling a stupid story, even if I'm the joke. But the fact that I've suddenly established this reputation as this really nice person, even though what I do on this show isn't really the nicest other than the recommended listening feature. But it was weird to me. I was like, I'm a nice person, apparently. In the podcasting world, in the podcasting, like, ecosphere, and everybody knows me to be this really nice person. And I'm like, well, fuck, that's not what I was going for at all, was it? But it's okay, I guess. Because I'm not a shitty person. I'm not. And I know that. But I guess I've always kind of seen myself as more abrasive than I really am, maybe. And it may just be because I'm more introverted and I'm generally antisocial. I was like, I don't want to deal with people, go away. But because I'm not a shitty person, I'm not going to tell you to fuck off to your face. That's kind of it, I guess. And I'm not saying that all of my, like, the podcast people that I'm connecting with, that I'm like, leave me alone. It's more of, I think in direct human interaction, social circles, you stay over there, I'm going to stay over here with people I don't know. I need to know you. I need to bring you into my bubble. And once I bring you into my bubble, then it's like, we're here on the show, and I'm going to go and whack the mic. Thanks a lot, dumbass. But then suddenly it's like, I'm here with you on how I am on the show, where I can just talk and I can just, pull my string, snap that bitch off. It's gonna keep going and going and going and going and going. Somebody wound that fucking pink rabbit up until oblivion. That's what happened. It's not the Energizer Bunny. It's the Die Hard Bunny or whatever the shit. I don't know. It's the biggest battery I could think of. Anyway. But yeah, that's what I turn into. If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you know that. But but yeah, when I let you into my bubble and I consider you a friend, you can't shut me up. But if you're out there, give me my little shield and a pokey stick and get the fuck away from me. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to know you. I really am not out there looking for friends. I'm not. And so I'm just, no. So I think probably podcasting for me has been that like thing where I've been able to invite people into my bubble because I don't have to meet you. We don't have awkward interactions. It's very sporadic and oddly enough that I'm making connections and making friends through the internet, which is normally really hostile and cold and everything. But gifts are a wonderful thing. The gift game is strong with this one more because I like to make people laugh. And I usually have there was another like comment thread where somebody asked, God, I can't remember what it came down to, but I think they were asking like, hey, quiet people, and, chime in. Oh, it was Paul from Varmints, who I'll be talking about later. But he had basically, cause he is one of the moderators he's the moderator for the, Underdog podcasters group. And he was saying, it's like, hey, all you quiet people, the ones that don't chime in, speak up, say something, why are you quiet or whatever. Just kind of, announce yourself. And a lot of us chimed in. And I basically kind of said, I'm not a conversation starter. I just jump in if I see something I can contribute to. It was like that. I was like, either say something productive or I make a stupid joke. That's basically it. And I have a tendency with social media interactions to respond to things in silly GIFs. Because, why a picture is worth 1,000 words and a moving picture is worth a lot more than that. So I think I've said this exactly before, but that's just my thing. I love, send a funny message, because the little funny picture will express what I need to express. And my wife and I have had entire conversations in text with just sending gifts back and forth. That's just what we do. But yeah, it's again, I like to make people laugh. I'm as much of a dick as I am. I'm not a bad person. Weird, huh? But I kind of realized, like, I had the title for this show. When the news stories for this episode came up, the title for the episode was set. I knew what it was. I had no fucking clue what I was going to talk about. I actually was planning on completely skipping this part of the show. I was like, yeah, so it's like, hey, thank you for this and thank you for this. I've got a bunch of other stuff on the back end, so roll commercial. No, that was my plan. I'm forewarning you, this could be a longer show. Not a lot of news, lot on the back end though. But yeah, I had no clue where I was going to go with this week. And just realized everybody was just saying how sweet and how nice I am. And like, again, I've been doing a lot of pushing and promoting. If you follow me on social media, you see I've been doing a lot of promoting for the Sunshine Summit coming up. And just like Heather Welch, she's one of the sweetest people out there, and she's putting this together. And it is all about those connections, those friendships we're making, especially like in the podcasting world, especially that. And like the connection between us, like when we, connected online, we've just had this really great friendship. And because I'm excited to be a part of this whole thing. And so I've been trying to do the best I can to really promote it. I was like, I feel like as a part of this, thing, I feel it's my responsibility to promote it. Much like the podcast share thing. I don't talk about podcast share as much. It's become very self-sufficient at this point, but I do make it a point every single podcast share, person, whoever is curating the account this week, since day one, I share every single post. I like and retweet every single post for podcast share that comes across. Like, my phone pings all the damn time for things like that. It's like, nope, this is going out. Why? It's podcast share. The whole point is to get the word out and to spread the word about these indie people and what they're doing, what they're listening to, and all this. The more people that share it, the better. That's kind of the idea. It's podcast share. So I'm really, like, when it comes to supporting indie podcasters, that is my thing. I love supporting indie podcasters because I am one. And God knows I could use more support. It's like my podcaster friends, support me, but I don't have a huge audience. I don't have a huge social media following because I still suck at social media. But I do what I can in my little bubble. And I think I forget who it was. I think it was Lisa from I Shake My Head. And I basically said, you guys are the stars. I'm just shining my tiny little spotlight on you guys. That's what I do here. And so, yeah, I've said before, I'm a better pimp than prostitute. I can't promote myself for shit. I can't. I'm just terrible at it. But I can tell you what I like and what I like about things. And I love telling people about the things that I love. I love going out there and saying, fuck, from the knives that I use, and I'm gonna get shit on, and if Matt or Nick are listening, yeah, I use Ronco knives. Yeah, I use buy this shit from TV. I use my Ronco knives. No, they're not professional grade chef's knives, but they fucking work for a guy at home that just needs good knives. That's all you need. They're good knives. I've had my set for 10 years at least. No bullshit. We're looking at replacing them just because some of them are getting pretty beat, and we've lost some over the years. But anyway, knives aside. But I will tell people, I gave like 4 sets of those things as gifts. when I like a thing, I will tell you about it. that's what the whole end of the show is about. When I like a thing, I tell you about it. And it's like, what's that joke? How do you know the vegan in the room? Oh, don't worry. He'll tell you. I'm not like that. I'm not going to be I'm all into this, but it's like hey, I just found this thing. You should check it out. I really think you'll like it. Even like one of my brother-in-laws, dude is head and shoulders above me when it comes to cooking. Dude makes shit and just comes up with shit like crazy. And he has good knives. He still likes the Ronco Rocker, which is one of the knives that I have. He likes that knife because it's this weird curved knife. It's half serrated, half straight edge. It's got a good, but the design of this knife is really weird, but it's a very multitasker and it's very heavy and it's great for a lot of things. And he likes it. And my wife likes it. It's one of the few that my wife will use. And it's funny, but things like that. It's like, he'll use my Ronco knife because I was like, dude, you try this one because he's seen it in my house. But yeah, I just like sharing the things I like. When I was, for a short period where I was, hawking fucking vacuums, I still stand behind the machine that I was trying to sell. I didn't sell a damn one because I'm a shitty salesman. More on account of it's hard to tell somebody to part with $3,000. Yeah, $3,000 vacuum. I have I can say it's worth every penny, but I can't justify the cost. I can't justify the expense. I can't spend that kind of money. I'd love to have one of those machines, but I can't spend that kind of money. Anyway, yeah, I guess as spiky as I try to be here, I don't try to be edgy, but I don't hold back how I feel about something. And so it's funny to me that I end up having this reputation of being a nice guy. And in that, I need to get with, Nick, from Restaurant and Epic Film Guys, because coming up, and I'm sure I need to see if he's got a promo or something I can actually play. I'm sure he should put one together if he doesn't already, but something that I can run they're doing the live stream for The Cure. And I think I mentioned it last year. The live stream for The Cure, they're doing 3 days this year of, live streams and guests and games and all this for raising money for cancer research centers. I believe cancer research balls. I don't remember exactly but they're raising money for cancer research. I will get back to you on that. And that's coming up in May. And I want to be part of it this year. Last year I donated. I want to be part of it this year, but I was like, what can I do within this show? How can they do a block with me? And that's like, fuck, what am I going to do? But I don't know. But I want to do something for it this year. I want to contribute directly this year because it's just a great thing. And I love what they're doing. And I want to help spread the word and do more with that also. And that's coming up in May. So I've got time. And right now I want to focus on the Sunshine Summit and really getting, the word out about that. But, for a segment that I had planned to skip, I've gone on for way too damn long. So I'm going to take a break, get some more coffee, and leave you with some Potter and Family promos. And I'll be right back with some really weird news.
Should you eat that cake in the break room?
What makes the ultimate office pet?
Is the shuffling from the next bathroom stall a demonic rite, or something far worse?
On the Work-Life Imbalance podcast, you can find terrible answers to some of your most uncomfortable questions.
Whether it's coming to work with late-stage syphilis,
or staying on trend with pants full of angry raccoons.
I'm Frank Eastman.
And I'm Derek Lewis.
Two guys who ought to know better on Work-Life Imbalance.
Find us at WLIcast.com, on iTunes, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
With all the gaming sites full of editorials and fluff pieces, it can be hard to stay up to date on the news from the gaming industry. The Sometimes Geek podcast is a quick and easy listen each week that covers the major headlines and the occasional review, with thoughts from an everyday gamer. You can find us at sometimesgeek.com or on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Stefan Cocking, producer of The Mole Man Show, and for some reason, you are listening to this boner-taming goblin farmer, Adam Higgins, on the Surprise Motherfucker Network.
Bullshit from the news.
All right. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. Coming out of this weekend, at least. I guess I shouldn't say elephant. I should say the Black Panther in the room. Yeah, I think just about everybody, like, except me, went to go see Black Panther over the weekend. And I didn't go on for any, any sort of political reason or, it's no, none of the hype or anything. It's just mostly, I don't go to a lot of movies because I work and I've got 4 kids and my wife doesn't like nerd stuff. So she doesn't want to go with me to things like that. And my brother moved away. And so I don't have anybody to watch this stuff with and I don't have any friends. So yeah, there's that. So I don't want to be that schmuck that's sitting there all, cause you seem like a bigger nerd when you're watching a superhero movie by yourself, right? So yeah. Anyway, all of that aside. First twist of the day. Theater accidentally plays 50 Shades Freed instead of Black Panther. Oh, yeah, this was fun. An Atlanta theater accidentally played the finale of the 50 Shades of Grey series, 50 Shades Freed, instead of Marvel's Black Panther over the weekend. After about 5 minutes of people laughing and complaining, the theater eventually got the movie switched. And you hear about this shit happening all the time now, especially with these big releases. Like you almost have to assume they're doing it on purpose because it's getting them attention. It's absolutely getting them attention, but it makes no logical sense. Like, y'all don't know where your fucking, like, which movie is which on which screen. And I realized that, when you got these big Marvel movies, these big blockbusters opening, that there's a lot of stress and all that stuff, but Mr. Projector Guy, what is supposed to be. How are you going to get those crossed? You've probably got, in your 15 screen multiplex, 10 of those probably play Black Panther right now. 10 of them are probably playing back Black Panther. You probably got like 250 Shades, and then the other 3 are rotating between some, like, 1 independent movie and 2 kids movies. Really, that's probably it. Or you got like an independent movie, like some really arty, like Oscar baity type of movie, and a kids movie. That's what you got. Some shit that's been hanging around for a few weeks. That's what you've got. But really, I mean, how do you mess that up? But again, it seems to happen with all of these big releases, and it seems to happen more with like Marvel releases. It always seems to be like some much more adult, like R-rated something, like 50 Shades, which is just garbage films, but whatever. It makes money because of the market. It absolutely, it's completely marketed to the people to the women who like the book. I'm not even going to say people, women who liked the books, because how many men, if men read those books, they read them as a gag, or somebody said, their wife made them read it, shit like that. I'm sorry. I don't even think gay men are going to read the fucking 50 Shades books. I don't know where. It's just a thicker. Fabio should be on the cover. It's just a big trashy romance novel, but it's not romance. It's just a fucked up abusive relationship. Anyway, 50 Shades rant aside. Yeah, how do you, I don't get how you mess that up. You have one job, Mr. Projector Man. Put the right movie on the right screen, and you fucked up. And you put the absolute worst possible movie you could put in front of a Marvel audience. Oh, God. That twist was for them. The next twist is for you. Drug dealer kidnaps nurses in order to vaccinate his neighborhood. Nice twist, huh? With an outbreak of yellow fever wreaking havoc throughout Brazil, one drug dealer actually decided he had to protect his operation. So he kidnapped 2 nurses and stole all of the vaccine he could find, and then forced the nurses to vaccinate his entire neighborhood where his base of operations was. So, yeah, his motivation was kind of shitty, and his execution was still really illegal. And this guy's apparently known to be a highly dangerous, like, this is not somebody you want to mess with. And, you know, granted, he's a drug dealer who really wants to mess with a drug dealer in general terms. But it's this guy, again, his motivation was shitty because he was motivated pretty much by, I've got to make sure that, you know, where my drug operation is safe. Well, in order to do that, he vaccinated the entire neighborhood, which is great. He did a great thing with really shitty execution for a really shitty reason, but the outcome was an entire neighborhood got vaccinated for yellow fever. Because ultimately, like, it's obvious, like, you're not running your drug dealing operation in the big city, you know, lush area. You're probably in a poor area. And for all of their, hey, we're going to vaccinate millions of people, we're going to get this under control, that the government in Brazil is trying to get everything under control, the poor people aren't getting the vaccines, the rich people are getting the vaccines. It's kind of how it goes with vaccines. And so he's like, nope, fuck this, we're in a poor neighborhood, I'm just going to steal the vaccine and a couple of people to administer the vaccine, and we're vaccinating this whole hood so that none of my people or anybody in my hood gets sick. Okay. So my business can just keep on functioning, right? I don't know why I got to start talking like this because it's in Brazil, but I can't do a Brazilian Portuguese, nothing. I can't do that. Anyway, you think drug dealing operation, I'm sorry. You're thinking, and everybody out there, forgive me, but it's a blatant racist stereotype. You're thinking of a black dude in New York City. That's what or you're thinking of a black dude in LA. You're not thinking of a Brazilian guy speaking Portuguese kidnapping nurses. You're not. Sorry. Them's the stereotypes. Anyway. And I don't have that voice. I can't do that one. All right. Moving right along. I'm trying to fly through the news because I've already rambled so much. Let's see. Police capture inmate who escaped by switching places with his twin. Talk about an awkward family reunion. All right, police in Peru have finally caught an escaped inmate who had switched places with his twin brother. While being visited by his twin, the inmate sedated him with a drug-laced soda, took his clothes, and just strolled right out the front door. The police, when the brother woke up, he's surrounded by guards. He's saying, hey, what the hell happened? I just woke up. Where's my brother? No, I'm not the inmate. That's with my brother. I just came here to visit. And the police, like, are investigating him because he's like, no, my brother was the guy, not me. And because twins. And it's like, no, you're just trying to fool us to letting you go. It's like, no, my brother just escaped your prison, you dumb fucks. And they fingerprinted him and it's like, oh, nope, this isn't the guy. Never mind. Turns out that when guests would visit this prison, they would stamp them. And as a result of this, the director of the prison and the guards on duty who were checking people in and out and all this stuff were all fired because, as said, escapee just strolled right on out the front door. Nobody checked his stamp. The stamp that says, you are an authorized visitor of this prison, which, you know, escapee did not have the stamp. His brother did. They're like, yeah, he's stamped. His fingerprints don't match. This isn't our guy. Our guy just walked out the front door and nobody stopped him and nobody checked his stamp. So all of those people that fucked up all got fired. Good. Meanwhile, the new people had to find the fucking guy. And when they eventually caught him, he claimed that he was like, he needed to see his mom and handle family business. And I was like, really? You just ditched your brother in prison. And the police investigated the brother, thinking it's like, oh, he was an accomplice. They set this all up, and he's like, fuck no. I think I'm gonna kick my brother's ass. Like, I love him and all, but I'm gonna kick his ass the next time I see him. If I were a twin, fuck it, I'm not even being a twin. If my brother pulled some shit on that, not that my brother would ever be in jail, but if anything ever happened with one of my brothers and any of it, I'd beat their ass. Try and pull some shit like that. No, I would beat the shit out of my brothers, and they would expect it, and they would have to accept it. That's just the way we were raised. Sometimes you deserve an ass whooping, and if you swap places with your brother to get out of prison, you deserve an ass whooping. But yeah, now he's got to finish his sentence. At least they, as far as the story that I read, the duped brother is basically getting off. They let him go. It's like, no, he was not colluding with his brother. He didn't know what it was and all this shit. But yeah, that's fucked up. How could you do that to your brother? Seriously, what the hell? But all of that aside, I don't even know if I could call this a twist. It was just fucked up and I had to do it. So maybe, let's see, how can I twist this week's Jackass of the Week? Woman cuts off finger and wears it on a necklace. Yep, we're talking weirdo body modification. And I can't even call it. This isn't body modification. This is body mutilation. A woman obsessed with piercings and body modification decided to chop her finger off with bolt cutters. And after she left it in her freezer for a year, she decided to put it in a little vial full of alcohol and wear it as a pendant because she thought it was cute. No. It's a finger in a bottle. And if you're, I put the picture of her little finger in a bottle. And if you look at the show art, it's there, but it's small. But you got her little fingertip in the bottle on a chain. And you can see her little nubby. I think she like snipped off the tip of her pinky. And so it's basically like top knuckle of her pinky in a bottle. But she stuck it in her fucking freezer for a year, like sitting there on the fucking peas. And the article repeatedly mentioned that it was sitting next to the frozen peas. And she cleaned out her freezer and found it. I'm like, the fuck, woman? The fact that she'd been wanting to do it for like 10 years. What compels you to, what makes you think you're gonna, like, no. Why are you, I'm not going to shit on body modification people. Not at all. Like, my sister and her husband both have their ears gauged. They've done like those suspension things where they hang you up by hooks. They've done a lot of things. I've no problem with branding and tattoos and crazy piercings and all these sort of things. But I can't even, like, my brother-in-law even has a magnet embedded in his finger so he can, because he's an IT guy and it helps him pick shit up easier, and paper clips and little doodads and things. He has a magnet embedded in his finger. I'm cool with these things. But what the fuck compels you to just chop off a piece of your body and wear it as jewelry? Why? And why for 10 years do you want to do this thing? Why? Again, other forms of body modification are fine. You know, the lizard guy who split his tongue, fine. He's got all this shit embedded in his head to make him look like a lizard, and he's tattooed like 90% of his body and all this. Fine. He didn't cut off his fingers. He didn't have shit really. He, like, severely altered his appearance, but he didn't cut some shit off because he thought it would be cute to wear as a piece of jewelry. The fuck, girl? She is all sorts of tatted up and like tons of tattoos and piercings and all these things. And I don't want to call, again, pulling up stereotypes, but if you look at her, you can absolutely see if anybody were going to do this, she would do this. She's definitely not a kindergarten teacher, but I feel like that's a line that I just don't understand. All other forms of body modification, again, scarring, branding, tattoos, piercings, embedding bullshit, the guy who got fucking whiskers implanted in his face, the fork-tongued lizard guy, all these things I get. Not chopping off your finger. Sorry, don't get it. Nope. I don't understand removing a piece of your body because you think it's fucking cute. It's not cute. And apparently her boyfriend makes like little fucking hats so she can put little hats on the jar, and it's so adorable. It's so cute. Oh my God. No, you're all are fucking weird. Y'all are weird. I'm saying it. Fucking weird. Oh my God. All right. Enough of that weirdo. I'm going to take another break because I need to calm down from this and take one more promo break, and I'll be right back with this week's featured podcasts.
Hey, my name's Paul, and I'm not an animal expert.
I'm Donna, and I'm not an animal expert either.
And together we do a podcast about animals called Varmints.
Every week we pick an animal, do a bunch of research on it, and bring you some interesting facts about that animal.
But we don't stop there. We talk about that animal in movies, TV, and other pop culture.
And we talk about whether or not that animal would make a tasty dish, and how intelligent we think it is on the scale of 1 to 10.
It's exactly like one of those fancy PBS nature documentaries.
Except with more poo jokes.
New episodes go live every Thursday wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Or you can visit us at blazingcariboustudios.com.
Varmints! Varmints!
Welcome to Film Roast.
Hey everyone, Hannah here, the co-host of Film Roast, where two overcaffeinated and underqualified friends talk about all things movies. If you like film factoids, lots of sarcasm, and bad impressions, check us out on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. You can also follow us on Twitter at Film Roast Show and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/filmroast. Happy roasting!
Recommended listening. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm giving you 3 of the Sunshine Summit guests this week. But I'm going to be giving them to you in order, and I'll let you know when they're going to be appearing through the week. Starting off with on March 9th, or Friday, March 9th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Alyssa Lucas from Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits. Now, I have not listened to this show up until yesterday. I started listening to this because I wanted to familiarize myself with these shows. Because, and I said last week, I've listened to a lot of these shows. A lot of the guests that are on here are previous recommended listening features. They are also friends, like podcast friends of mine. But I had not listened. I've heard of this show. I just have not listened to it. And so I started listening to it. And I started off with an episode talking about the Lady Pod Squad, and she's doing a series on podcaster best friends. And I figured what a perfect way when that's kind of the focus of the summit is these friendships and these connections. And lucky for me, in that episode, she featured Film Roast, Shamblefest. I haven't heard of Shamblefest, but also I Shake My Head with Lisa and Sam. Basically all shows where best friends do a podcast together. And I hadn't listened to this show before, so I was really kind of, and it's an interesting concept to me. But I'll give you the official synopsis of the show. Alyssa Lucas hosts Best Forever, is a podcast for kindred spirits with the goal of starting a movement to love more on our best friends, bros, and bosom buddies through sharing stories of friendship and talking about the most important topics to keeping those friendships afloat. And that's it in a nutshell. It is really just a show about friendship and it's holding what makes these friendships. And I like that she opens the show with, this is a show about best friends. Well, where's my best friend? Why am I doing this show alone? Because it's about your stories. It's not about her stories. It's not about her best friend. It's about your best friends and your best friend stories and what makes them your best friend and all those sort of things. And it's really great. And again, listening to the Lady Pod Friends episode, it was really cool because, again, I'm familiar with Film Roast. I mentioned Hannah before. And again, I'm going to be talking about them later. And I shake my head with Lisa and Sam, and Lisa and Sam are great, and they are great pod friends of mine. And so it was really cool. And again, and having that connection with them, but listening to them just tell their stories about how they became friends and how they started their podcast as friends and what their friendship means to them and how they keep things together. And it's really cool. And just that it's basically, she's created this platform to share stories of love and friendship. And it's just a really cool thing. And I've never seen, it's definitely an original idea because so many shows, like you talk about love, it's all romance. It's, was it Sex with Emily? I think is the name of that show. It's relationship advice. It's how many places are you going to go where they're talking about friendships? I don't know of any. It's a little bit out of my circle, but I can't think of any other shows that focus on friendships. And when, that's kind of what the Sunshine Summit is all about, is these connections and these friendships that you form. And so it's a great way to start the whole thing. Let's start a series about friendships by talking to a show about friendships. And you can find that at Best Forevers Pod. That's Best Forevers with an S, bestforeverspod.com. All right. Coming up next, speaking of friendships, at 7:30 Eastern on Friday the 9th, we have Stephen John Drew and Stargate Pioneer from Better Podcasting. And I have heard of this show. More specifically, I have heard of Stargate Pioneer from the very early days, nearly 3 years ago when I got into podcasting and I started listening to the Audacity to Podcast and the School of Podcasting and Podcasters Roundtable and the New Media Show and all these podcaster shows, like these industry podcaster shows. And in every chat room and every live show, they say Stargate Pioneer. It's like, oh yeah, SP is here. I'm like, and yeah, it's Better Podcasting. And Heather had mentioned that was kind of one of her go-to podcasts about podcasting. And again, I heard Stargate Pioneer all over the place, but I never listened to a show because I already listened to so many other podcasts about podcasting. I was like, I don't need another one. But again, wanting to be fair to these segments, like I'm going to listen to these shows. So I started listening to Better Podcasting the other day. And not only was I fortunate just because, fate, I happened to listen to an episode where they were talking about Heather and the Sunshine Summit and all the places she's been. But I get why people listen to this show instead of others, because it is really, it's like a podcast about podcasting comedy show. These guys clown around and joke, and they deliver a lot of podcast industry news. They deliver a lot of information and good information, but they're funny as hell. And I said, when I talked about Dave Jackson, it's like Dave Jackson is a funny guy, but Dave Jackson is a funny guy in that he's just got a way of delivering a line or telling a story that'll make you laugh. Whereas, Steven and SP crack jokes and burn each other, and they kind of bust each other's balls a bit. All while delivering legit, really solid podcasting information and news and tech advice and things like that. But it's all focused on the hobby podcaster, like me, like just about everybody that's going to be as part of the Sunshine Summit. For the most part, we're all hobby podcasters. Some of them make money. Emily from The Story Behind, she spun off. She has a production business now, but but ultimately her show is a hobby. And like so many others, and the rest of the guys were hobbyists, and that's who their show is focused at. Whereas a lot of the other podcasting shows are focused, they're much wider net. They'll talk about, the people who do this as a business. The Audacity of Podcast and School of Podcasting. It's like they have clients and they talk to the guy who's starting a podcast to market his real estate business or whatever. They talk to that guy too. But it really, to me, it seems like, better podcasting, and they outright say it's for the hobbyist. It's for the people that, for the most part, they're not making money on their show. They're probably losing money, but they do it because they love it. That's why we do this. I get why people would listen to it. They're fucking funny. That's just it. It's like, they have a show about podcasting that's fun to listen to. You learn a bunch of stuff, but you also have fun. They're just it's a fun show. And they are part of the Gonna Geek network at gonnageek.com. I feel like I have to keep spelling things. Gonna, GONNAGEEK, gonnageek.com. Last but certainly not least, coming up, moving into Saturday, the 10th of March at 4 p.m. Eastern, we have Paul Chomo from the Varmints Podcast, which I just recently featured. And congratulations, Paul gets a second plug. I guess technically this would be the third one since I talked about everybody last week. But again, 4 p.m. Saturday, the 10th, Paul will be on. And what can I say about Varmints that I haven't already talked about? It's an education comedy podcast about animals, and basically a couple of animal nerds, and it's fun. And like I said, I don't know what else I can say. I guess because if you haven't listened to that one, I should go through a bit more. But they talk about all of the pop culture things. They pick an animal. They talk about all of those little, how do I put it? See, I was much more eloquent when I did this the first time, and I could collect my thoughts about each particular show ahead of time. Whatever. But yeah, and is Paul going to be talking about Varmints? I don't know. We're talking about friendships, but on Varmints, him and Donna, who they've obviously got a great friendship. Otherwise, he wouldn't still be doing the show after so long. But they talk animals. And they talk animals in a really silly and fun way, whether it's, mating habits and, what is the etymology? Where did they come from? How many are there? Are they endangered? Would you eat them? All of those weird, animals in pop culture and all that. And they do all of that fun stuff every week. And I've actually been a part of that show once. And my boys have been a part, well, more because I was on, they recently played the clip that I had on this show with my boys when I featured Varmints, because they're awesome, because they're just cool. So check it out and they are part of Blazing Caribou Studios. All these people in their networks, they don't just have their own. Sorry, as somebody who doesn't have a formal, my own domain, I shouldn't bitch, but they are at blazingcariboustudios.com, and just click on the Varmints logo with the little possum eating the microphone. You know what it looks like. What else could it be? All right. Wow, I'm under time. Wow, I expected to go really long. I think because I'm not as deeply familiar with all of these shows, and I just recently talked about Varmints. You guys basically got the Cliff Notes version of what I did last time. But because I just did it like less than a month ago. And again, there are some of the upcoming guests are people I've already featured, or I plan to feature, and like, hey, guess what? You guys got fast tracked because I'm going to time it out. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Sunshine Summit. It's something I've ever since Heather announced it. It's been just something I've been really excited to be a part of, because like I said, with the nature of the whole thing is, celebrating these connections and these friendships that we've formed. And for me, I have friends. And in this group of people that are going to be part of this are a lot of my friends. And so it's just a great thing for me. Just like when I saw that, jumping ahead to the end of the whole thing. But when I saw that like Gareth from Gareth's Random Ramblings was going to be part, and I saw that Emily from Story Behind was going to be part of it, it's like, yay. And I'm almost jealous because they're not going to be at times that I can listen because I'll be working at the time, or B, like what I almost wish I could just co-host this whole thing with Heather, because it's so awesome. And I don't do interviews because I generally suck with interviews, but in conversational stuff like this. But I wish I could share this whole thing. This is hers. This is absolutely all hers, but she and everybody keeps making the things that I wish I could make. I have the thought and I don't do it, and then somebody else does it. Basically, podcasts we listen to, a podcast where you're interviewing podcasters just about, themselves and just chatting is like, perfect. That's exactly me. Just having conversations with other podcasters, cause love to do that. But Jeremy does it, and he does it very well. I'm not about to step on his toes, and I'm pretty sure if I tried to step on his toes, Dina would kick my ass. So, nope. But, or even just something as simple as this with the Sunshine Summit, bringing all of these people together to celebrate the friendships that we've made. I admire Heather for putting this together, because this is ambitious. It is seriously ambitious. And to get all of these people to come along and to say, yeah, I will be part of this thing, because this is really a great thing. And I am proud and excited to be a part of it. And again, I've been chatting with her more recently as things have been going, and I've been doing more stuff, kind of really trying to push the event. And, we kind of laugh because we're both kind of fangirling out, and I'm going to say it, I'm fangirling out because for this will be the first time that we'll ever actually talk to each other. We listen to each other's shows and we chat on Twitter and stuff, but it's like, it's kind of like when I sent stickers to the pizza podcasters, like, wow, he's a real person. I'm a big fan of his. He seemed to be a big fan of mine. These connections, it's making them real. That suddenly being able to have a live, person to person, even if it's, across the internet through Skype or Google or YouTube or however, being able to do that it's really different than, typing, into your phone. So I'm really excited, and we're both like really excited about finally getting to have a normal, like a regular conversation. And like I said, for me, like a lot of these people are podcaster friends that in the same vein, never directly had a conversation with. I've chatted with Emily. I've chatted with Nick. I've chatted with Gareth. And a lot of these guys I've had, if you listen to, Hello Life, WTF, or the pod stuff, I've gone into quite long, in-depth, deep chats with them. But I've never actually talked to them. It's not. Well, it's kind of the nature of podcasting. You have friends that you may have never actually spoken to, or like directly spoken to or met ever. And that's just kind of the thing. And that's what this is all about. And that's why I'm so excited for it. again, I almost wish I could just I could be in there with for all of these. I was like, I want to talk to SP. I want to talk to Emily and Gareth and Lindsay and Perry and Nick and all of these. I want to talk to them all just as much because, again, I'm fangirling out. As much as I'd love to meet everybody. And of course, I'm super excited, and Heather and I are super excited for our chat. And she put a countdown timer with time zone corrections and all this stuff on the website. So, but yeah, it's just been, as the event gets closer, I'm getting more and more excited for it. So, as of right now, it's 17 days until the event, and it's going to be fun. And so you need to check that out. And yes, I'm going to be vamping about this. I'll probably not vamp as much next week because I'm into this whole series talking about the Sunshine Summit. But yeah, I guess it fits this week with the whole everything is not what it seems. I'm being more of a sap this week. I'm gushing about the summit, but I'm excited for it, and I really think it's a fun thing. And after this is over, I'm going to be really pushing the live stream for The Cure for the Epic Film guys, because come on, it's raising money for cancer research and absolutely needs to be talked about. So I'm going to mention that every week. Don't bitch. Sorry. I'm sorry. I guess since everyone thinks I'm such a nice guy, I need to play up to it. But I've vamped for a while. So let's wrap things up. You can get all the details of the Sunshine Summit, all the times, all the guests at sunshineandpowercuts.com/Sunshine Summit 2018. And, of course, you can get all of the back episodes of this show and links to subscribe on your favorite platform at odddadout.blogspot.com, including the full recommended listening list. I will not be adding all of the guest things right now to that list because this is kind of a different thing. It will, but there is a link there to the Sunshine Summit list, so you can check all those out there. And again, check me out on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, all at OddDadOut. And again, I'm still learning the Instagram thing. And yeah, the Instagram thing all feeds out to the Facebook thing and to the Twitter thing and all that stuff and the thing. But, you know, where you see some, that's where I'm becoming more open. I'm showing you me or cracking dumb jokes or whatever. It's like a personal Instagram that I share my stupid shit with. That's all I can do. But check it all out. Have fun with that. Comment. Leave me a review on the Facebook page or an Apple podcast or wherever if you are so inclined. And I'm going to do a thing. So stay tuned. I'm going to do a contest coming up for the 100th episode because I'm trying to figure something out for that. But I think I'm going to run a giveaway for the 100th episode, and it's only a month and a half away. This is 94. We only got 6 more weeks to go until the big 100, and I'm thinking I'm going to do a giveaway. It's only like a month and a half away. So stay tuned. Get on the Twitter and the Facebook and the Instagram to wait for that announcement for what exactly I'm going to pull out of my hat for the 100th episode. But until then, thank you so much for joining me and putting up with my crap for the last hour. Of course, I am still Adam Higgins, the Odd Dad Out. Thank you and good night.
Because everything is not what it seems.